supplement and just kind of help it to like mobilize that lactic acid again. It turns back into ADP and it becomes a useful resource again. It's really just when you're hammering that one muscle group into failure and then continuing to try and push that one muscle group further into failure that you start to like give your muscles an acid bath that are just so taxing and fatiguing that you can't really recover from it. But if we like jump around movement pattern, you can generally fatigue the movement pattern, therefore double hitting the muscle group, right? So in this OHP mock-up, I'm still hitting the anterior deltoids. I'm still hitting pec major, pec minor, anterior serratus, posterior serratus, all the other thoracic stabilizers. I'm still hitting my thoracic, I'm still hitting my core. But I'm fatiguing a different movement pattern, and that's what's going to allow me to go the distance with that. It's also what's going to allow me to be good to go for bench press or whatever the fuck my push-pull Monday is, including this following Monday, right? So now, again, this first week's done. So next what I'm going to do, well, it's not done. We've still got a Friday. What do we want to do Fridays? Let's hit legs for our second time this week. Because that's how I like to program. I don't understand. I see a lot of people hit their hinge and their squat on the same day. That's weird to me. I don't know. Maybe it's personal preference. Maybe I'm just a little baby back bitch that doesn't like to walk around on the same fucking fatigued muscles. But I've just never understood, like, you've got two muscle groups, the front and back, effectively, like, sort of colloquially. You've got the front and back aspects of your legs that you can walk around sore on. So, like, why are you going to squat and hit your glute ham tie-in and your glutes and your quads and fatigue those out and then be recovering those at the same time that you're trying to walk around on a fatigued hinge as well? But I don't know. Everybody's a little different. So for our Friday, I'm going to go ahead and write in. Now, the one thing about this week's deadlifts, this first mock week's deadlifts, we've already kind of used 2 consecutive days for a high RPE on a non-max out day. Because that's the other bit of context. I know it's a lot of information. This is why we organize it. It's a lot of moving fucking parts. This is why we try to keep it. Once we start to organize it in a matrix like this, we can start to see that, okay, over the course of the month, I still got the same amount of everything in, but I did it in a way that didn't fucking break me down. Okay? So, this week's deadlifts over here, we're going to hit hinge and hinge / lower body extensions. We're going to probably do our deadlifts and our glute ham kickbacks and our reverse hypers and our, I don't know, fucking, what's the one? The bent over one? Is that just a kickback? Yeah, just a kickback. Just our glute ham kickbacks. We're going to do all that on this hinge day, right? So this hinge day, we're probably going to keep the RPE low, but take the volume up. So we're going to keep the RPE around a 4 and a 6. We're going to max out at a 6. We're not going any harder than a 6. These movements will actually be really, really easy. This kind of day, this 4 to 6 day with high volume, it's another one of those days that, like our Tuesday, is more of a work in. We're actually generating more energy than we're expelling. Now, again, going back to what I said originally, we're going to assume that this not accounted for Saturday, that's going to be our passive day. We can just sit around and fucking maybe just take a walk or some shit, you know, walk the dogs or whatever. And then this Sunday, this imaginary Sunday over here, that's going to be our passive Saturday was already our passive, so that Sunday is going to be our active recovery. Active recovery day is going to require some effort from you, but not require that you put much effort out. It's still going to be more of a work in than a work out. You're still going to generate more energy than you're going to put out over the course of this. But what we're going to do for this Sunday's active recovery is yin yoga, the lower body. That's what we'll do. We'll do lots of dragons, which is just a lunge, but held as a pose. We'll do dragon high, dragon low, dragon flying high. We'll do fraggin. We'll do, we had some overhead press, so we might do some puppy dog as well, and maybe some Muay Thai prayer, right? And get them shoulder girdles opened up. So this is going to become like a yin yoga day. And then we're back to Monday. Now, we're back to Monday. We have two options setting up this Monday now, right? Because this Tuesday, we don't want to like flippity dip that every time, right? So one thing we're going to do with this Monday is I'm actually going to tell myself, you know what? I'm going to switch Monday and Tuesday this week. And this will be my RPE. Four to 6. So I've almost snuck in cellularly on a cellular tissue-based level. I've almost snuck in 3 fucking recovery days in a row. That's gonna feel weird. For a lot of you that like have to go fucking work out, and you haven't yet familiarized yourself with the work in concept, for a lot of you who have gotten so used to, so like maybe you used to be fat at the beginning of this journey. No judgment, just objectively speaking. Like if I was fat. When you come from a place where you're already fat, you're already overweight, you're already fucking like full, whatever, however you want to fucking call it, you already have kind of a surplus of energy, right? Now, there are certain scientific parts where what I'm saying breaks down, and then there are other certain parts where like it kind of doesn't, and it kind of supports what I'm talking about. The main point here that I'm trying to make is that like when I went from being big to being small, I developed this really fucked up mentality that was very like negative this. Like I would not program like this. Because when I was in this place where I was like heavy and I had to lose it, I was always concerned with getting down to a smaller weight, getting away from being called fat, like whatever. I was always trying to get it all out of me. I wanted to not be classified as that anymore. So I got into this mentality where like, it's like the runner's mentality, right? I've talked about this on other videos. The runner's mentality of like, well, the first week you started running, the first week you started exercising, you used running to do it. And in running, you felt fucking cathartic. You had a huge release because you like switched your body out of sedentary into like mobilized mode for the first time in forever. So you had a cathartic release of just getting your human machine back to being a human machine. Then you felt really great because you looked down at the fucking Dexatron or the hand heart rate scaler or just the little fucking estimated printout on the treadmill readout, and it told you that in this half a mile that you just ran in 20 minutes, 20 minutes for half a mile. But anyways, doesn't matter. Not judging. In that time, you burned 230 calories or some shit. And like our human logical brain was like, oh cool, that's quantifiable. Because now our brain is like, if I burn that amount of calories 5 times a week, that's 1,000 calories burned a week. Where I was burning roughly like 400 or 500 calories a week. Now I'm burning 1,000 calories a week. It's more, so our brain tells us like we can go for that. What our brain doesn't know is our brain doesn't understand that every day that we run, we get better at running. And every day that we get better at running, we get more efficient at running. And every time we get more efficient at running, it requires more running to get the same breakdown, right? So, getting back to my point, it just creates this kind of hamster wheel scrimmage towards the finish that's never coming. Because the more effort